All right. Let me look at the time. All right, Tom, come on in.
Hey, how's it going?
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Why don't you start by introducing yourself?
My name is Thomas B. Tran. I am an actor based in Chicago, and yeah, that's me. Mhm.
Awesome. So, Tom, why don't you tell me three adjectives to describe yourself?
I would say first one is ambitious, then driven, and I guess the third one's like goofy.
Goofy. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much again for joining us.
Mhm.
I guess my next question for you is, was there a particular moment that you knew you wanted to be an actor?
Yeah, so there's a couple moments that I can think of. The birth of the idea of being an actor came from when I was at home and my grandpa used to like watch me and like all the other kids whenever our parents would go to work. But he would watch like Jackie Chan movies a lot, and like he had the whole like VHS like collection of all these Jackie Chan movies. And he passed away when I was fairly young, but the thing that sticks with me is like how he laughed at those movies, and that's the one thing I can remember every time. And like at that point, I was like, maybe I can, like that's pretty cool. Like he's finding a lot of joy out of this, and so that was like the birth of the idea of becoming an actor. Well, how it actually happened was I did theater in high school for the first time at the end of my sophomore year because my sister told me that they were looking for like somebody to like basically like roll around on stage, and I was like, I do that for a living as a person, so I'll go ahead and just do that for the theater. And it was for a show called Les Mis. After doing that, I realized how cool it was, like theater and acting as a process, and just decided to stick with it. So
What part did you have in Les Mis?
I was like uh, chorus, so I played like all different roles. I played like a sailor, a revolutionist, like one of the prisoners. So I got to do a lot of stuff, which was like great for me to start out with because, you know, I wasn't locked to one thing. I got to just like play as all these things. So yeah.
Did you find that transition between playing different parts as part of the chorus to be difficult? Like, what was that like for you? Since that was your first time like on stage, right?
Yeah.
So like, how was that like transitionary process, but in the middle of a show?
It was the tone of the show itself is pretty similar, but it definitely was challenging because how do you, my like 16-year-old brain was like, how do I go from like fighting for my country to like, trying to impress this lady at the bar, right? It was definitely difficult, and it taught me a lot about you know, how important character, like understanding your character is, and like motivation for your character, how it can help drive the scene and the actor in their like given circumstances.
Awesome. So that was your sophomore year, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
So moving forward from there for the rest of your high school acting career, what other productions were you involved in?
I did two more productions after that. Or I'm sorry, four more productions. I did two plays and two musicals. The plays were, one of them was a original, and then the second play, my senior year, which was kind of like my breakout role, I guess, in high school theater, was 12 Angry Men, and I played the main antagonist there. And that was when I figured out that I liked playing the villain also. It was like pretty freeing to play the villain. The musicals that I did were Bye Bye Birdie and then Newsies. And Newsies taught me that I love to do backflips on stage.
Okay.
So,
Very nice.
like, that became my thing for a little bit.
Yeah. So like, were you able to do backflips before then, or like?
Yeah, I actually learned how to do backflip. I used to work at this trampoline park in St. Louis where I grew up. I started when I was 15 with all my other friends. And as a 15-year-old, I was seeing these 12-year-olds doing backflips. And I was like, there's no reason I can't do that, right? So me and my buddies were like, we're gonna learn how to backflip. And so we eventually like helped spot each other learned how to do it on the trampoline, and then eventually translated it to grass and then to hardwood and to concrete, and now I can just kind of pop it whenever I need to do a backflip for a reason. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And so finally it came to Newsies where you're just like,
Oh
this is
yeah.
perfect.
And I was like,
all my
wow.
training's paid off.
Literally,
Yeah.
like the universe brought me Newsies, right?
Yeah.
And I became like the flash move, for all the choreography that we were doing.
Yeah.
But it felt great.
Yeah.
It was like exhilarating to be able
Yeah.
to do that.
So you mentioned how in 12 Angry Men, that's where you discovered that you really liked playing antagonists. Can you explain to me why you have that draw towards that particular type of role?
Yeah. That kind of, well, first of all, I realized that I excel in dramatic things naturally from that show. I also realized that, doing the character work for the antagonist, the villain, they don't think that they're wrong. There's a drive, as a person, you're fighting for something because you don't think it's incorrect, essentially, right? And so being able to challenge myself to, kind of use myself and like the way that I process and fight for things and put it into something that I personally don't necessarily agree with, but finding the way to like really fight for it, finding the motivation to like fight for this idea. It's a good challenge, and it also itches a little bit of my, like, the side of me that's like, I guess like my selfish sides, that's kind of the way I can put it right now. But essentially I get to let loose a little bit and believe in the reasons why I'm doing so. But of course, like, in the context of the play or of the show or whatever it be.
So given that the antagonist in almost all situations from a narrative perspective, that's kind of the individual that you're rooting against. Do you find that much more difficult than playing the protagonist, which is usually the character that everybody's rooting for?
Yeah, naturally, it's more difficult, because there's a part of your brain that needs to find the empathy in their words and their reasonings, and that can be very hard, especially if it's like very against what your morals are. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but I think playing the antagonist can also be very rewarding as well, because of the portrayals, or like, I guess, the messages that you can send with it as well,
Yeah.
Obviously there's antagonists to show in a story, to show like, this is the reason why this or that, and this is like driving the protagonist is like, whatever he's trying to figure out, he or she or they, whatever, it's the story basically, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How important is empathy when it comes to being an actor?
I think it's if you don't have empathy, then how can you tell a story, right? It's very important, being able to understand, first of all, your character, and understand everyone in that story with you. Also, just like as a person, you need to empathize with cast, crew, and everyone that's making the movie happen or the play happen, because it's a stressful environment. If you're not able to, give people some grace, then it's going to be difficult to collaborate. So it's very important.
Absolutely. What's the one role that you found that you really had to put a lot of focus and energy and empathy into to be able to fully encapsulate what your character represents on the screen or on the stage?
Yeah. I think that I don't have anything specific right now, but I think some of the challenges that I face is like those very long days, 12-hour day sets, tech rehearsals that go until like 11 p.m., so like being in that headspace it's very important to kind of just like realize like you're going through this with me, you know, we're going through it together, and like trying to like bring it back to the art, and like realizing like this is like, you know, this is stressful, but you know, we're doing it together, is important. I don't think I've necessarily been super challenged with the role, other than the 12 Angry Men role when I played the antagonist. I think that was the most challenging one to get behind, to like reason with that character. So yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any, like, regardless of if it's like stage rehearsals that last all day or it's a 12-hour like shoot day for a film, are there any rituals or any practices that you implement in order to stay in character during those long days?
Yeah. So my personal process is I try not to stay in the character if I don't have to. Like if I'm not active on camera or on stage, then I like kind of let it, like put it to the side, right? But a way to keep that energy is, honestly, I need a lot of food. Like that's the main thing. Like my human need, I'm like I need to like have a lot of food. I always bring snacks to like set or to rehearsals and stuff. But also, you know, being in tune with the environment before I reactivate, you know, reminding myself, taking a look around the space, seeing like, okay, like that's my bed, or like that's my wife, or whatever it be, giving myself like 20 seconds to do that, and then getting back into it, is the way that I like to do like my process for like longer days on set.
Interesting. So you're not one of those actors that like is in character the entire time.
I mean, not necessarily. I personally, I like to be Tom when I can be Tom, you know, and like, it's nice for other people too, because like, you know, yes, I'm working, but also I love to meet people too, and you know, talk to them about whatever it be. So I like to remove myself sometimes, and then like present Tom and be like, you know, just be like casual about it, you know.
Absolutely. And when you say like when you want to be Tom in those moments, why?
It's because like work is work, you know, telling stories is difficult. You know, I still want to like present myself as like, you know, like I'm the human that you're actually meeting, right? I don't know, just like I feel like, you know, it doesn't have to be a grind all the time. I love to grind and like really put the work in, but also like, you know, it's refreshing sometimes. It's like, you know, get to hang out with somebody on set, you know, just like as them. And I also just like, you know, meeting people and making, you know, making the world a little smaller is kind of the goal of life in a way also. And so I try to take those opportunities when I get them.
Can you elaborate on that about like making the world smaller?
Yeah, kind of what we're doing right now is making the world smaller, telling stories that never been told before, never been seen before, meeting people, like, you know, trying new cultures, understanding people, learning new languages. Making the world smaller is just like, you know, less judgment, less hate, and just like really being open to, you know, meeting and believing and seeing all these new things. So that's what I think.
No, absolutely. Is there a respective experience on a set that you really kind of felt that, where like the world was a lot smaller?
Yes, actually when I went to Greece, in Idra last year, first time that I did anything out of the country, first time in Europe, and first time doing theater out there, I didn't realize how like yeah, they know, like it was a study abroad program, so like the community knows that we come and like do this every year, but like the way that like they flock to the theater, and like at the end of the day, it's like, you know, everyone's appearance and their food and their culture is different, but like we're enjoying the same thing. That was like more recently, like the project that I was like, whoa, like people, like these stories are kind of like this story and the culture is kind of like the same blueprint. We just do it in different ways. So,
Do you enjoy stage acting more or film acting?
to be honest, I would say film right now. Yeah, I enjoy film more right now.
Why is that?
Because I like the process, my personal process a little bit better. Like I mentioned, I like going in and out, meeting new people. There's so many people on a film set, you know. Financially, it pays a little bit more, and like as a beginning artist, like that's a little bit important to me right now. But also, it I feel like I can tell more stories through the medium of film. Theater, it's a longer runs, not as accessible at like your fingertips, you know. But I still love theater, and it's different, like for the different reasons of theater. But film definitely, I feel like I find more comfort. Comfort is not the right word. I feel more seasoned in film right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. About how do you feel like your experience on stage has shaped you into becoming a good film actor?
Yeah. It really is different to start off. Stage is huge. Film is like very, specific, very tight. But theater training helped me transition it to film because like learning about character work, the moment before, like what drives the character, that is extremely valuable to putting it to film. And then film is kind of just like tweaking it to like fit the screen basically. Yeah, so I went to DePaul for the acting conservatory there, so it was a theater-based program, and then we got to, learn all those aspects. And then as I was going through that program, I was doing a lot of student films as well, and one of the challenges that I had was making it a little bit more specific and smaller, and just through that I was able to learn. So.
No, absolutely. So obviously, when it comes to going into the creative arts, right? Regardless if you're a filmmaker, if you're an actor on the stage, or whatever, obviously there's a lot of stresses that come with that, especially in the beginning, before you, I guess you could say, make it, in the sense of like getting to a place of comfortability, from a financial perspective. Do you find that sometimes those stresses of trying to figure out life in your real life can impede on your approach to acting? And if so, like what are some things that you do to kind of get yourself in the proper headspace to just really immerse yourself in the project that you're like at the moment?
Yeah, it does affect. Human necessity is, survival is first, right? And like if you have to survive, there's a trap where like artists sometimes are like, I need to get hired for this commercial, for example, because it'll pay my rent. That's just like it's unfortunate when someone will get to that point, because then it's like it's not for the art anymore. It's for like paying rent, So there definitely is an effect. What I do personally is I'm learning discipline right now, to really, set myself up for success. Budgeting, consulting about, future paths, being more vocal with my agents, just overall setting myself up so that I can avoid as many setbacks as possible, and also keeping a good like support system as well. Like I got like my besties in the city. I got my family to back me up. the foundation of the person is extremely important and needs to be taken care of first before the art can blossom. So
I like that metaphor a lot about creating the foundation before you can build anything on top of it.
yeah.
Do you find that you had very good foundation when you like wanted to become an actor at first?
Yes. I definitely lucked out with the support of my family. My parents are sweet. They're supported me from day one. They encouraged me to apply for these schools because initially I was gonna go study to be an anesthesiologist. I was a very like math, science heavy person, and then all of a sudden, just imagine like your kids like gonna go into that field, and they're like all of a sudden they're like, Mom, I'm gonna audition for acting school, So I was very nervous to tell them, but they're like, as long as you're happy. It's like okay, it's like you guys got me right. I was like, yeah.
And so, what did that support do for your overall confidence and approach as you kind of committed to that? Like, so how important was that to you?
Yeah. I mean, it just opened all the doors. Like, I had no pressure of succeeding necessarily. It let me figure out what kind of things that I like to do. There was no, like, they didn't put any ideas in my head. They're like, they didn't make suggestions or anything. They were just like, yeah, we trust you. Go find your craft and, share it with us. And I was like, okay. And here I am, Now I feel like I've kind of honed in on like what I like to do, and I'm taking steps and taking classes towards different kind of art that I would like to learn more about.
Absolutely. And it's great that you had a very good support system early on.
Yeah.
And
Shout out mom and dad.
and that's a very beautiful thing. But obviously there are certain individuals that go into the creative arts that don't have that support system right off the gate. So what's your advice to those people that aren't as fortunate early on?
It's hard because it's a lot of aspects to like getting started. You don't want to like get completely shut out by whatever circle you're in. But the first thing I would say is surround yourself with like-minded people. And the second thing is it's never too late to start. Me saying that as a 23-year-old, like, I mean, like, I don't have the necessary like life experience to say that, but I do believe in it fully. It is never too late to start. So those are the two things that come in mind right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great advice. I'm trying to think. So let's pivot more towards like your film acting. I know you've been in a couple short films to date so far. Why don't you like describe to me like some of your favorite roles that you've had?
Yeah. So a lot of the things that I've done have been somewhat physical. There's a couple films that I've done where I got to do some fight choreography, die on camera. I realized that I enjoy doing that a lot too. One film that I can think of is this film I did called Cha, where I played the first generation grandson of somebody. Basically, it was a story about it was a story set in the times of COVID and the height of xenophobia and Asian hate. And basically that character loses his grandmother to that violence. So, being able to portray that was super important to me. And it was somewhat of the beginnings of my transition and my love for the screen.
Awesome. What preparations did you have to do for that role in particular?
So, first of all, I played a Korean grandson, so I had to learn a couple lines in Korean. My nationality is Vietnamese, so like I did a lot of research on that. I did as the best as I could with honoring that culture, and I had a lot of help with that as well. But the emotional aspect of it was I mean, it was kind of easy at the time because it was literally happening to me, right? So just taking aspects of my life and putting it into that context um, was it was kind of a given at that point, you know, because like, you know, the media was filled with the like xenophobia and like the COVID times and this and that, and it was just a lot to like digest. So I took those frustrations and just put it into this, and it kind of helped me like process that as well, um, which I'm like pretty thankful for actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned that you're Vietnamese, and obviously there's a vast amount of culture, like dating back a very, very long time. Are there any respective like practices or overall cultural values or beliefs that have kind of stuck with you and have kind of helped you with kind of crafting yourself as a professional in acting?
Yeah. I'll start with my religion. I'm Vietnamese Buddhist specifically, and you know, Buddhism is very. I use Buddhism to like kind of keep myself as like a blank slate because a lot of it is like letting go of your desires and like all of these like materialistic things. So I try to like use that and like put it into me to like really become something, you know? I don't know if I'm like articulating that.
No, no, that's great.
So like, you know, finding that meditative mindset to really lean into somebody else, but not completely like putting myself away. There's still you know aspects of Tom in there. So I use that culturally. That's where the food comes from too, where I need the food to fuel myself.
Yeah.
Vietnamese people eat, they really do. And then I guess just like, it's very family driven culture, you know, family's number one. And I like to, first of all, like, I mean, in real life, I use my family as like my backbone. And then my close friends nowadays are my family at this point, you know, and so they're my backbone too. So I use that as my support. But then I try to transition that same feeling to seeing partners, you know, because one, the actors are spending so much time together, they become family at that point, you know. And two, the characters, if they are like literally family or if not, there's always like a relationship that's somewhat adjacent to it that I've like worked with, and so I like to like kind of take that and put it into my characters, like, you know, drive and desires and whatnot.
Absolutely. That's actually so cool that you're Buddhist. I don't know. I'm probably
Yeah.
gonna cut this part, but I just think that's so cool. So you mentioned that like you try to maintain a very balanced state, blank slate. You actually said, and on top of that, like making sure that you don't kind of let material possessions kind of be at the forefront of your desires. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I try to calm the monkey mind, you know, just let it disperse from time to time. There's a lot of stimulation in the world with screens and, you know, just technology in itself. So, you know, keep my feet on the ground is very important to me. It's the material stuff is like, you know, like I really, really, really try to like discipline myself and keep it like to like necessities. But also I like to flex sometimes. I'll buy like a round of shots for people, you know. I'm like, come on guys, you know, it's on me, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just like, I don't know, I just try to like, I don't know, I'm trying to, I guess it's not more like letting go of that, but it's more like being doing it with reason, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I feel like we would go another like 30 minutes talking about this, cause.
Yeah.
But for what it's worth, you do seem like you have a very like disciplined mindset, and it does radiate across. So like,
Yeah.
I can tell you're doing a really good job with that for sure.
Thank you. I try not to be late for work, you know.
Yeah.
Try to show up to my meetings, reply to my emails, do what I can, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Where would you like to see yourself in 5 years?
I briefly mentioned this, but I'm probably going to move to LA pretty soon. Definitely on the screen, but I don't know what I want to do yet. There's so much I'm still learning because I'm like studying comedy right now at Second City. There's like fight choreography that I'm into and just like straight up acting. I think acting's at the forefront, but like the other two avenues aren't out of the picture, you know, and I've learned that about myself more recently.
Awesome. Well, explain, because you mentioned this before the interview. Explain what you're doing at Second City.
Yeah, so Second City is Chicago's comedy club. I was accepted to the 3rd annual Victor Wong Fellowship. So essentially what it is a 12-week process of learning Second City's as an entity, learning how to write sketch, learning the acting side of comedy, just basically a whole masterclass of everything that comes with comedy. And then we do a showcase at the end of in May. At the end of it, we have all of our sketches that we've written as a group. It's 10 people total, so there's a bunch of sketches. Then we'll perform it as our showcase review, and then that's the program. That's, you know. So we're currently in process right now. We perform next week, and we'll be running through May for the next next few weeks or so.
Awesome.
So,
all right.
yeah.
The next part of this, we're implementing something new where I'm going to give you a minute of just like rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So just feel free to just answer first thought that comes to your head.
Okay. You want to keep it like 1 or 2 sentences, right?
Yeah, like quick.
Right,
It'll be a little quicker than that too.
Okay.
Favorite actor?
Steven Yeun.
Steven Yeun. Oh, such a good answer. Favorite movie?
How to Train Your Dragon.
That's a banger answer. Favorite director?
Ari Aster.
What's one role that that has already happened that you wish you could have played if like the stars aligned?
Anything in Avatar: The Last Airbender live action.
What's your favorite hobby outside of acting?
Basketball.
Who's your best friend?
Right now, my I have so many. I have like best friends from home, my girlfriend, my family. Just like I have a lot of best friends. A lot of people.
What's your favorite place that you've ever traveled to, and why?
Vietnam, because my family was there, and I met them for the first time in person when it was in 2022.
Favorite meal?
Steak.
How do you like your steak cooked?
Medium rare.
What's one movie that you're looking forward to that's coming out over the next couple of years?
The new Karate Kid. I'm curious.
Did you watch Cobra Kai?
I did.
Did you finish it?
I haven't. I have one more season.
Oh, you gotta finish it.
I know. I do.
Awesome.
I would have been in Cobra Kai too if I had a choice.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would have too, but I'm not very not very athletic when it comes to karate. But
No.
all right, Tom. Well, I'll tell you what. Before we go, why don't you tell us? You already mentioned Second City. Why don't you tell us like other things that are coming up for you?
Yeah. So Second City will be every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. in May. I'm sure it'll already pass by this point. But upcoming, I'm working on a short film, and then I think I'm gonna continue working on comedy and maybe take a Muay Thai class so I can, you know, hone in on that like physicalness of my acting, and then eventually people can meet me in LA, and
Very nice.
You know, we'll work together.
What's the name of the short film, and when can we expect it, like roughly, to come out? Just so we can look out for it.
It's called Sisterhood, directed by Megan Henderson. It's a DePaul film, so the timeline might be a little up in the air, but it'll probably be out by DePaul Premiere Fest of next year, if I had to guess.
Awesome.
But we'll see.
Well, Tom, I gotta say you have a great head on your shoulders. It seems like you're very dedicated to what you do, and like honestly, thank you so much for your time. It was a great pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
to you.
Yeah, chatting with me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Killed it, dude.
Dude, that was great.
Killed it. That was awesome.
I got you. Those good questions too.
I know.